Dice Tower Tonight, episode 91.
Rage Against the Meeple?
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we turn the crank, snap the plank, and boot the marble right down the chute, then watch it roll, hit the pole, and knock the ball into the rub-a-dub tub, which hits the man into the pan. The trap is set. Here comes the net. We're talking about games with machines. Also, I have a favorite for Crystal in the chat to play. We run through some titles we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Laverne to my Shirley, it's Crystal Dax.
Hello, Eric.
Hello.
That might be one of my favorite intros you've ever written for any piece of media.
Well, I didn't write it. I just transposed it. I actually lied. This is episode 92. I forgot to change that in the script. Episode 92 of Dice Tower Tonight, we are crawling ever closer to our episode 100. And as we said a few episodes ago, if there's ever something that you'd like us to do for that 100th episode, a game that you would like us to play on the chat, we would love to hear about it. That would be a lot of fun to hear about.
Basically, do our job for us and do it better and better. Because the thing is, you all are what make this show so much fun for us to do. The live chat is what we enjoy most, is the interaction we get to have with you all. And so we want to make our 100th episode super awesome and exactly what you all want to see. So yeah, yes. Send us an email, crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com, and let us know what you want to see for episode 100.
Absolutely. So how are you, Crystal? It's great to see you. I'm delighted that we get to spend some time with you in the chat.
It is lovely to see you. I am doing pretty good. I see Gator Dave said in the chat, Eric is broken, but you look okay from where I'm sitting.
And
so
I appear to be moving in the chat that I'm seeing, although I'm not seeing numbers very high, which is interesting. I'm not sure if my numbers... chat, can you let us know how things are looking? And I'm only seeing Gator Dave in the chat at the moment. Maybe we just have a very quiet audience today.
I know, right? Maybe everybody is just kind of eating dinner, hanging out, being in the background, so to speak. But until we hear otherwise from the chat, we will continue on as if everything is fine, because everything is definitely fine.
Gator Dave says, everything's fine, just my rhyming is broken.
Gator Dave, you're not allowed. You can't.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Making us think we got technical issues.
So I've had an interesting day. It has been, I did not think I was going to get a COVID vaccine this morning. And we heard, as many of these vaccine rollouts have been going on and vaccine sites and clinics and stuff, they have a certain number of doses and not always enough appointments to fill those slots. And so we got word of a local, about half an hour away, clinic that had extra doses and couldn't even fill it with the current age band. My age band doesn't start until tomorrow. But they said, we're still trying to fill the slots and open it up to everybody. And we were able to get in today. Both Stephanie and I got our first dose today.
Oh, how exciting.
And so it was cool. We had to take one child out of school in order to get there in time, but we got in and managed to do it. So I'm on the path and I'm excited to do so. I'm wearing my sticker today.
Yay! I got my first dose a couple weeks ago, actually the day after our last episode. And my next dose is going to be on April 8th. So I will be fully vaccinated by the end of April, which is really exciting.
The light at the end of the tunnel, I'm sure. But I totally understand, everybody gets excited whenever they've gotten one of the shots and the selfies and the pictures and just, I understand. I am excited to have finally gotten this, but I totally get those whose turn hasn't come yet or the supply has not gotten to them yet. And I get it. It is frustrating to see people moving forward with this and you personally haven't yet. But we need to remember that this isn't over until everybody that needs the shot has gotten it. And I think that's something to keep in mind. Even if you personally have been protected, there's still farther to go here.
Absolutely. And that is why, Tom and the gang have been really thoughtfully considering what Dice Tower events are going to be looking like in the near future and in the not so near future. And I believe the first currently scheduled event will be the Dice Tower Retreat in the
Yes.
fall. And they are optimistic that that is going to happen. I am personally optimistic for Dice Tower West 2022.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean, I think that it's going to happen. Now, whether it looks exactly like it did before, you know, who knows? But we here in Vegas, the team that runs that con locally, are actually meeting up in the very near future to discuss plans. So I'm already getting excited about Dice Tower West 2022 at this point.
We're so starved for events to be able to get together and play in person. And my game group has started to discuss when we're getting back together again. And I think generally we're saying when everyone's vaccinated, and we're not all there yet. So there's still a little bit of waiting, but the light is there. We will be able to get together, and I am looking forward to when my game group is not my two kids, because while it's nice to have them here in the house readily available, they do not always want to play games, and will often, like, I'll present them with an array. Here's like 4 review games that I'd like to play, and they will look at the playtime of each and pick the shortest one.
Oh.
So I've been playing a lot of 20-minute games, and not a lot of hour-long games, so it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, I have one local friend who has been fully vaccinated for a little while because she's a teacher, and then me and my other friend who have been gaming together one-on-one masked occasionally during the pandemic. Both of them came over to my house very briefly recently because one had some news that she wanted to share with the two of us. And just being in the same room with like 2 of my best friends was invigorating. Like, after the one friend left, which, you know, we just had a very brief visit and she all masked and all that, and she left. And then my other friend, Kathy, that was here, she was like, "You're jazzed right now." And I was like, I am. Like, the energy. I mean, I know I'm an extrovert and I need that social interaction, but like, it's hard to really like quantitate how starved for it I am until I get it. And then I'm just like, ah!
Which is why our meetings here are so good. I mean, it doesn't replace face-to-face, but I do feel like we get to sort of have a hangout here with those of you who have joined us here in the chat, and with you, Crystal. It's just something I look forward to every time we're able to do it.
I love this show, and I love the chat.
So we should get into it. This is a board game video cast. We should talk about what we've been playing lately. Crystal, what have you gotten to the table lately?
I got a game to the table that I've been wanting to play for the first time for quite some time. I recently made a purchase from Boardlandia, which is a friendly local game store that's not local to me. I don't actually remember where Boardlandia is based, but they have an online store and you can order from them and get stuff shipped. And I always love supporting friendly local game stores, not just the ones here in Vegas, but anywhere. So I made an order from them.
Is it in Portland?
Maybe that would make sense based on the name, but I don't remember. As part of that order, the game I'm not talking about, I don't want to get you too excited, Eric, but as part of that order, I did get my own copy of Cantaloupe.
Oh,
so,
yes.
And I've had multiple people message me, not just you, but multiple people have messaged me and said, "Crystal, this game will be your jam." And so I'm very excited to try this one out. But what I did get to play was Viscounts, however everybody, I don't know, Viscount, I believe is correct.
Viscount, if you're going French, if you want English, it's Viscount.
Viscount.
Yep.
Of the West Kingdom, one of the 3 games in the West Kingdom trilogy from Garphill and Renegade Games. Architects of the West Kingdom is a game I adore. Like, truly and deeply love Architects. And so I had been curious about the other 2. I still have not played Paladins, so I skipped right over Paladins and moved on to Viscount. Just like the other West Kingdom games, it comes in a box that is smaller than a Ticket to Ride sized box, which is baffling considering how much game is always in these boxes. And it's like not even like shoved in there too much. Like, there's space in this box. If they have an expansion, you could put more in here. It will be difficult for me to show you all the board in its entirety, but I can kind of give you a little bit of an idea. There is this plastic section that goes in the middle with some icons on it. You're going to have workers that will be climbing up this little castle during the course of the game. And all around that middle section are these wedges, and also a piece that I'm flinging onto the floor. But I haven't broken anything, so we're doing good.
It's a start.
Right? So, fun fact, I knew I wanted to play Viscounts because I like Architects, and even though they are not necessarily similar games, they're in the same series, and I like Architects. I like, obviously, the publisher, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to play Viscounts. I did not know that this was a deck building game when I purchased it. This is a fact that I maybe should have paid attention to before I bought it, considering I don't tend to like a lot of deck building games. Broad statement. This is a really good game that I felt very ambivalent about after having played it. No, like, it's great. Yeah. I can see why so many people love it. I didn't dislike any part of it necessarily, but I also have no compulsion to play it again. Like, if somebody wanted to play this, I would play it. It was fine. This does feel like a game that will get better with repeat plays, and I have only played it once, and I only played it at 2 players, so let all of that kind of dictate what you think. But basically, here, I have to show you at least one of the big beeples, because they're pretty cool. I've got all the player pieces in multiple bags in a bigger bag, which is always nice. Also, Eric, here's a question for you. Do you do the thing that I do, where you not only separate out the individual player color pieces, but also all of the starting resources for each player into individual bags too?
I do like that idea where you have, here you're playing. What color are you? This is everything you need to start with. Yeah. Yeah,
this is everything. Yeah, like in this one, you've got your markers that are going to go on your board, all of your workers, and then, of course, the piece de resistance, the big old meeple. Look at this. Look at this one.
Holy cow.
It is. I mean, here, yeah, my hand, I don't know how to show you the size of this, but it's a chunky little piece, and there is one for each player. And those are what are going to be moving around the board. They will allow you to take specific actions. You can hire workers. You can trade resources. Like many of games of this style, and actually more so than Architects, the theme for me is not present at all in this one. In Architects, I feel the theme to some degree. In this game, I feel no theme at all when I play it. Again, this is all me personally, but it's a solid deck building game where you're moving around the board to take actions and putting out workers and collecting resources and getting rid of those resources to do other things. I can take it or leave it. I think the reason I wanted to talk about it specifically is because I do, you and I as board game reviewers often tend to gravitate toward the stuff that we like and talk about the things that we enjoyed because that's the stuff we're most excited about. But for me, it's also important sometimes to talk about a game that I didn't necessarily like as much. And I think that that's okay, I still want to try Paladins. A lot of people like Paladins more than Architects. For me, though, now that I've played this one, I'm like, ooh, can anything top Architects? Because I really like Architects. So Viscount of the West Kingdom has a lot of cool things going on in it. The one thing that I didn't specifically mention that I want to call out, obviously I cannot feature all of the mechanics of this game or we would be here all night. Where are the player boards? Are they at the very bottom? Yeah, let's see if I can dig one of those out without making a huge mess on my desk. You have virtue and corruption tracks on your player board, and the virtue and corruption are the same track moving in opposite directions, and some really cool mechanisms happen when those things collide. In Architects of the West Kingdom, taking corruption is usually going to be a bad thing for you, although it can give you benefits. In this game, corruption isn't so bad. And in fact, the debts and deeds that you will acquire by being either corrupt or virtuous are how the end game triggers as well. So these tracks are pivotal to the gameplay, and they make for some really interesting moments in when those two tokens collide. So that was kind of the coolest part of the game for me personally. But the rest of it, moving around the board, choosing what actions I wanted to do, all of that, building. Oh, and I'm bad at culling a deck. Like whenever it would let me just take a card out of my deck, I never know which ones to get rid of, and that's where it gets hard for me. So,
Okay.
have you played this one, Eric?
I have not played Viscounts.
Okay.
I would like to because deck building is my jam. So yeah, I still want to give it a whirl. That might be one that's on the list very early when I get to see the Dice Tower library again, or when you and I get to hang out and you still have this in your collection.
Yeah.
We shall see. Someone I saw a Eric has asked in the chat, have you played Quest for El Dorado? That's Reiner Knizia's deck building race game. Okay.
I have not.
That sounds a little similar with using your cards to move along a board and you're racing around, and you're also using them to buy more cards. And so how do you push and pull that whole thing? But
in this instance, the cards that you're playing go to your personal board, and they allow you to do actions. So the character cards that are in your deck, not characters, the people that are in your deck, once you put them out on your board, you have 3 spaces, and the symbols that are on those cards dictate how well you can do particular actions. And then every turn, you play a new card out, and the one on the far right shifts off of your board. And some of those people have abilities that trigger when they get pushed off your board. So that's interesting as well, because unlike a regular deck building game, you aren't playing out a hand of cards every time. You're only playing a single card each turn. So it is a little bit different. Like I said, it's interesting mechanically. It just didn't scratch the right parts of my brain particularly. So I actually would recommend this game for people like you, people who like deck builders or really mechanically solid board games. I mean, is that everybody? Probably, but it's not for me, but I can see why a bunch of people really love it.
cool. Awesome. So I have, before I get to the game I wanted to talk about, I have a very quick recommendation in the video game sphere, because I don't know how long it's going to be available. If you have a PlayStation system, a PS4 or PS5, they've been giving away some free games this month. In fact, a few months before that too. But there is a puzzle game called The Witness. It's maybe 4 or 5 years old. That is fantastic. I got it for free just a couple weeks, or just a week ago or so, and have been playing it and just adored this game. It is a solo puzzle adventure. You're exploring an island and solving these maze-like puzzles and messing with the environment and basically all those cool things that make this style of game really, really cool. There's no timer. There's basically open exploration. If you get stumped on something, you could just walk away from it and go explore somewhere else, and maybe you'll find something that explains it later. There's very little like dialogue or text or anything. Everything is just explained in tutorial format. Like you run into a puzzle that's very simple, and that explains a concept, and then it gets a little more complex, and then a little more complex, and then they throw a monkey wrench into it, and that changes the way you have to think about it. And you'll often run into a puzzle that just doesn't make any sense, and you walk away from it, and then find some of those simpler puzzles that add the concept and make it make sense to you. There's still this overarching narrative that I have not figured out yet. I've unlocked video clips of like an Italian guy walking across a plaza shielding a candle, and I don't know what it means. And it's like 10 minutes long, and I sat there watching the whole thing. Maybe there's a clue. I have no idea. Anyway, I don't know. But The Witness, it's called. It's really good if you're a fan of puzzle games. But moving on, where'd the cover go? Oh, the game I actually wanted to talk about is Escape Tales: Children of Wormwoods. Have you had a chance to play this one yet, Crystal?
I haven't. I've played the first Escape Tales game, and I have the second one, but haven't played it yet, and I do not have the third.
So this is the latest, and it's got this lovely, creepy illustration of this woman on this vine-covered hand in the woods, and I thought it looked very creepy. It's actually not that creepy. It's a little more mysterious. The first one, what's that one called? It's not Low Memory.
The Awakening.
The Awakening. That one's pretty creepy.
It
This
is. It's
one,
definitely
this
creepy.
one actually feels less creepy. So
Okay.
the Escape Tales games, this is similar to all of them, are a puzzle style escape room, but it's almost more of an adventure game. There are, of course, puzzles to solve, and the basic. I'm not going to show you much of this game. In fact, this room is just from the tutorial. But the basic format is that you're presented with some sort of room, multiple tiles that have all sorts of cool things to explore. And then you have these tokens. You'll be given a certain number of tokens, and you'll spend them. So you have like a little grid. This grid says, what do you want to explore? And you put a little token on this, and you look up that entry, which means I want to explore this particular section of the room. And then you'll read some sort of entry, which then gives you a new card. There's I think 180 cards, a giant stack of cards, and you'll reveal items and puzzles and clues and hints and all stuff to interact with, and progress through the story. This version of the story, much like Low Memory, has 3 acts. So you've got Storybook 1, Storybook 2, and Storybook 3, which is almost an epilogue. They tell you to play it. You can walk away after Storybook 1, but they tell you to play 2 and 3 together. There's even a map, which it says, look, giant spoiler alert. I'm going to show you really fast. It's a map. Okay.
Oh no!
I've ruined it. So there's a map for exploration. There's this one feels very adventure tale-y. You also have, which is new to this one, you've got a character, an avatar that represents you in the game. This is Gilbert. And Gilbert has some stats which actually affect the way certain things happen for you. You will reveal a card and it says, if your sanity is higher than 8, this happens. If not, this happens. And so by completing certain puzzles, rescuing people, gaining items, you can get beaten up and that'll make your stats go down. You slide cards under and it affects your stats for this. When you enter new areas, you might get more action tokens if you have more sanity or more, what are the other ones? More stamina at some point. If you run out of action tokens, then you reveal from a deck. You can either rest or you can focus. There's 2 different decks. And you reveal another card, which is going to affect your stats, maybe cause some other effects to happen. Eventually, when you get to the end, and again, no specifics, but there are tons of different endings to this. And lots of puzzles that you will not be able to explore because you sort of get funneled in a certain direction, and this is the way I'm solving the adventure at this point. And so I'm no longer paying attention to the stuff over here. And a lot of the differentiation in those ending points is what your stats are. So if you push a particular stat way up high, you may get a different style ending than others. And I almost found that a little disappointing. That when it all comes down to it, it wasn't as much how many puzzles I solved, but like what the numbers were. Is your stat above 10? Yes, no. And I don't know. That just sort of Okay. But the replay value is very strong here because there are puzzles that you will not see. There aren't enough action tokens for you to do everything, which is intriguing, but is also, I talked about The Witness or Cantaloupe and having the ability to just explore everything. I like to 100% games like this, where you look around every corner, every rock, every nook, every cranny. I want to find all the stuff. And that
I am the person who, when they play Fallout, becomes over encumbered immediately because I've picked up every piece of garbage that I've encountered in the game.
Yeah. So I find this one a little more difficult just as a system because there's so much I want to see. But sometimes you often have to move on. You have to, so I can move on. I've opened the door I need to open, even though there's these 3 things over here that look really cool. I need to save those action tokens for the next room. And
that it makes it especially frustrating because it's not just for me, at least. So I played. I've only played The Awakening of the games, and I played it with my game group pre-pandemic. And this particular group is the type that likes to complete everything. And we struggled hard, not just with not being able to see everything in the game, but also, are we missing something like in a room early on that will theoretically change the fact that like now we can't win, quote unquote. Obviously there's a lot of different endings, but like, can we not get the good ending anymore based on making this one choice? And those I struggled with mentally.
You have to let that go because there's so
Yeah.
many endings here. I don't know if there is a good versus bad. I mean, there are better endings than others, but because
Right.
there's so much variation, you have to just make the call that you make, and you can't get hung up too much on, well, is this the best decision at this point? No, it's the one you chose, and so you have to go with that. But then another play, you might make totally different decisions, which is cool. There's also a way at the end of the game to explore some of those other endings. It actually lets you reset without having to play through the game again. Go through the last sequence where you give the yes, no, what were your stats answers to explore some of those other endings
Oh,
if you didn't
that's
want to
kind of
just
neat.
play through it, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy this system. I still would like to have one that is, more family friendly. I would like bunnies and foxes walking through the woods having an adventure in this system because my kids are staying away from this. They look at this box. My 9-year-old went, no. So it's an excellent system. I still prefer the ones that allow me to explore more openly. But there is
Right.
no timer here. Your timer is your action tokens, so it's much more of an efficiency thing, and not really a speed thing, which is good. So the
Yeah,
puzzles
you can
are
be thoughtful about the decisions you do
yeah,
make.
yes. It's lovely, and I do want to play it again, and maybe with a group. I played this solo at first, and so getting to play it with a group will make different decisions. I can hold back on some of the puzzles and play it that way. So that's very cool.
Um, Briefly, while we're speaking about escape room style games, I don't think I have it nearby to grab. But last night I actually streamed. I do an escape room game stream every Tuesday night on the Board Game
Yes.
Blitz Twitch channel. And last night I played the Kringle Caper, which you have previously talked about here
Yes,
before,
indeed.
Eric.
Yes.
And I have to say, wow, was it fun? I really enjoyed it. And the fact that it was an 18 card escape room game. Hey, look, Eric's got it for me
It's
right
still
there.
sitting on the desk from when we talked about it at Christmas time.
Nice. I mean, where else are you going to put it, right? Like, it's a tiny little 18 card
Right,
game.
I'm gonna
It's fine.
lose it. I don't. Anyway.
Yeah. I was impressed. It's definitely on the easier side of escape room
Sure.
games.
Yeah.
But like, I really enjoyed it and I was impressed. Yeah, like it was an hour long and only 18 cards and it was super fun. I enjoyed playing it. So it's from what is it? Grand Gamers Guild.
Yep.
So if anybody is looking, I know it's way before Christmas, but if you're looking for stocking stuffers for people this year, that is a great one to pick up a bunch of
Yes.
copies of.
I fear that they released it I mean, I didn't get a copy until right before Christmas, if I recall correctly. They may have missed that window of people buying things for the Christmas holidays. I'm hoping that in the next year, it's something that sees its place in a lot of stockings because it is perfect for that, and it's a perfect family adventure. Really good, solid little game.
Absolutely. And they have said publicly that they intend to release more of those based on other holidays. So I'm curious to see what happens with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Crystal, let's play a game.
Okay.
I want to play a game. So I mentioned at the top of the show that it was a bit of a zany day for me, and I decided to go with something straightforward for our game with the chat. We're going to play a favorite. We're going to play Just One. Tonight.
Hooray!
Hooray! So if you've never played Just One, it is a word game in which you try and get a guesser to guess a particular word by giving one-word clues, a single word. In the live version, there will be, I think, 6 other players. Yeah, that's right. 6 players giving clues, and any duplicates amidst the clues get eliminated, so the player does not get to see any of those duplicate clues, and they're trying to get as many of the words as possible. So when we play on chat, I will be announcing we're starting this word number 1, and the first 6 words that I see in the chat will be the clues that Crystal gets to hear. Now, when you type your clue into chat, please do so in all caps. It makes it easier for me to spot and count as they go. And also the caveat that the order in which you see chat may be a different order in which I see chat. So sometimes that 6th word might be in a different order than.
Yeah, we
than
always, anytime we play this game, we read the first 6 that we see, but it may not match. So
Yes.
just know that we're not skipping over anybody's comments or anything like that.
Yes.
Unless you didn't put it in all caps, then we skip you.
Yes, there's rules for a reason. Okay, so, and we're going to see how many we can get through. Did I skip anything?
Right.
I think that's pretty
I think you
straightforward.
pretty much got it. Chat knows this game by
Chat
now.
knows.
They're experts, and I have already hidden the chat, so I cannot see it.
Perfect. So I'm going to type into the chat word 1, boom. And word 1 is... There's word 1, chat.
I almost saw it. I didn't close my eyes. I almost. It was very close. I saw the top of the piece of paper, and I was like, oh gosh, I forgot.
So now this is the moment at which we figure out how long the delay is today.
Yep,
and,
I'm just going to look down for a little while. So I'm just going to...
Coraloo did not put it in all caps.
Coraloo.
All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and waiting for a 6th clue, and then we're ready to go. There we go. Okay, so, and I see 1 duplicate. All right, you're going to get 4 clues here, Crystal.
Okay.
Let me try and not have it scroll past because I want to keep these clues. All right, you get to see or hear ahoy, chocolate, cookie, and potato.
Chips.
Or chip, singular, is the correct
chip.
word. Yes. Chip is exactly right. Well done.
The ahoy is what made me think with the S.
Ahoy was an excellent clue. See, this is how it works. If you have not
ahoy.
Seen that before, if nobody's ever seen that before, they know exactly what was going on. The one that was removed was computer.
Okay.
2 people said computer. But you did fine. You didn't need computer. You got that just fine.
All of my video stuff is now hidden, so you can show things to the camera with reckless abandon, and I'll have no idea.
All right, so that was an easy one. Easy one to start. Let's begin with word number 2.
I still love that sound effect. I'm so easy to entertain.
I live to serve. This is what I'm here for.
Oh, gosh.
Coraloo almost said monk on the previous one. For chip.
Oh, that would not have helped.
That might not have helped. Yeah.
I've actually found, I think I've said this on the stream before, but in Just One, I have found that the best clues tend to relate to the definition of the word rather than completing a 2-word phrase, because it's easier for your brain to make the connections to the definition.
Yep.
And chipmunk isn't a 2-word phrase, it's a compound word, but you know.
Steve was also joking and says, Endale Rescue Rangers. That was
okay. That's a good joke. Yeah.
All right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Looks like that is, and there's 6 words that you all get, or you get all of them. Okay, let's lock that where it is. You get black, jello, blue, mildew, silicone, and cheese.
Mold.
Very good. Mold is correct.
Okay.
No, not bad at all. Okay. See, you've got this all figured out. You're too good at this game.
I mean, last time we played, I was not good at this game, so I'm just bouncing back, apparently.
All right, word number 3, and there are 8, by the way, is what we're working with here. So word number 3 of 8. Leave that up for a moment, and yoop, there we go. That's my new exit sound.
I liked it. Yoop.
No other joke answers on this one.
chat is typing in this one, I actually have seen a trend on TikTok, at least from a couple of creators, where they, with their significant others, they play a game where all they can do is make a sound with their mouth, any sound that they want to make, and they're trying to make their partner laugh, and it's always hilarious because they're just like, like it's always just the most random things, and the partner always laughs.
All right. I was worried this might happen.
Uh-oh.
I have 2 pairs in the 6 words that I have in front of me, so you're only going to get 2 words for this.
Okay.
Clue. Your first clue is third. Your second is cog, C-O-G.
Okay.
Third and cog.
Wheel.
Wheel is unfortunately incorrect.
Dang!
But
I was going in there just confident.
yes, I mean the confidence was good. You get a 10 for confidence.
Perfect. That's all I ever wanted.
Coralu asks, will Crystal be giving Eric clues too, or no? It's just me. We have to wait for another instance to. But if we do play High Clue, we were talking about that before the show. I've been playing High Clue on Board Game Arena and trying to figure out a way to make that work with the chat because I think it would be fun. Then we'd all be giving clues. But anyway, word number 4. Enter that in the chat, and we go. And
listening to the audio version of this after the fact must be really fun for some people. I don't know if the audio versions are still getting uploaded somewhere, but I know they were at one point.
Do we have audio versions of Dice Tower Tonight?
At some point somebody said that existed, but I don't know where.
Interesting. All right, so I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3. Hyphenated? I don't think that's a word.
Hyphens are usually not allowed in just one.
I'm gonna say, Gator Dave, that doesn't work. Somebody's just admitting defeat. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so I think I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I don't see any duplicates. So here we go.
Okay.
You get 1, 2, oyster, air, steam, piston, heart, and gas.
Oyster,
air, steam, piston, heart, and gas.
I mean, we're talking something engine related, whether it is the word engine or not. Air. What? Air and oyster. I've got all 6 words. This should be easy. Piston, gas. Like, those all point to engine, except for air and oyster, which means engine is probably not the right word. Come on, Crystal. I'm going to run with engine.
It's unfortunately not engine.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that to the side. For those of you who are wondering why I haven't told Crystal what the words that she's missed are yet, there's maybe a theme. I don't think the theme is going to be that difficult to ascertain here, but I'm not telling her yet what she missed. All right, so that was word number 4. We're at 50-50 right now.
See, you complimented me, said I was too good at this, and then I've just thrown it all away.
Word number 5. Okay. Any comments that Gator Dave says he's calling foul on my kicking of his clue.
I mean, hyphenates aren't allowed.
Yeah. Half-Life was his clue.
Hold on. Let me throw it to the doggo referees.
Oh.
Doggos, are hyphens allowed?
What?
Well, that couldn't have been more perfect.
All right, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's a good one. I like that, Neil. 5
I wish I could see what the chat is saying.
6. Okay. Dice Matrix doesn't know what's going on. We are playing just one. Okay, so here are your 6 clues. You get all 6 of them this time.
Awesome.
High, H-I-G-H, live, line, Baltimore, electric, current.
High, line.
Live, L-I-V-E, Baltimore, electric, and current.
I mean, the word that I'm not answering formally yet. The word that comes to mind is power. Why would live be in there though? If that were the case. And Baltimore. My brain gets too hung up on the outliers and it throws me off.
Yep.
Everything is related to like a power line or electricity or things like that. I'll say power.
It's unfortunately not power. It could be that you just didn't get that reference.
Maybe.
Yeah. So we're going to set up word number 6.
Oh gosh. I gotta get 6. I have to.
Word number 6 is...
I'm just getting all these wrong to prove to the chat that we don't cheat here. That's the only reason. I totally know the answers, I swear.
Dice Matrix, just to recap the rules, you are, as chat, giving one-word clues to the word that I've shown, trying to get Crystal to guess it, but any duplicate clues out of the first 6 that I see get removed. So you can only have one of each clue. So you can't pick something that's too obvious, otherwise it gets removed.
Although, in some games of Just One, if nobody is picking the obvious thing, sometimes it is smart to pick the obvious thing. But in a game like this with chat, I think that's more dangerous.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
So I have 6 answers.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2 pairs. So you only get 2 words.
Okay.
Your first word is live.
Okay.
And your second word is Isaiah.
Live and Isaiah.
Yes.
Well, then the word that entered my head based on theme and when everything else, when you said live, was wire, like a live wire. But Isaiah.
Yes.
I assume there's a person named Isaiah. This is chat. This is why you don't do things that like make a phrase or a name because your people's brains don't get there. You got to get me to the definition. That's okay. I'm just mad that I'm bad at this. I'm going to say wire because I don't think I'm going to come up with anything for this.
I'm going to give you credit because wire was the last word. So
I actually thought that after I said it, I was like, ooh, that might have worked for the last one.
You got word number 5, but 6, I'm afraid, is a miss. I'm actually worried that the first clue was for the previous word. I'm not sure, but okay. So 2 words left. We are currently at 50-50 thanks to our loophole. So we have to get at least 50-50. So you have to get at least one of the last 2. Here we go. And unfortunately, I've been making them more difficult as we go.
Perfect.
Word 7, right here, and it is... Yoink.
That's just a tease to tell me I'm doing well after the first 2, knowing that it's going to get harder.
That... maybe. I don't know what you're talking about. Dave says there's something about Detroit Live. Is that something? I just don't know that word. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to tell you the clues that you missed. Detroit was one of the ones I had to remove. And what was the other one? Oh, and Valve was the other one that I had to remove.
Valve?
Yeah.
Detroit? What is with all the city names?
Okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay, and one of them is a duplicate. or 2 of them are a duplicate. So you get
Yeah.
4 words.
Okay.
Your words are factory, escalator, slidewalk, and property. Factory, escalator, slidewalk, property.
Conveyor?
Conveyor is right. Well done.
Ooh!
Conveyor goes in the point pile. All right. Well, now you're trying to get better than 50%.
Okay.
Last word. That was well done. Slidewalk was I'm gonna kind of a made up word, but I mean, it's sort of like the things you find in the airport or slidewalk.
Called people movers generally, but
Sure.
I don't know if that's that might not be the official term.
Word number 8. It is. Chat is really cheering for you on that last one. They
Oh, yay! Thanks, chat. I needed a win.
Other words I saw: movement, airport, luggage. Oh, one of the ones that what was the one that I had to remove? Oh, it was belt.
That
That would have been helpful.
That would have, yeah.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no. 6. 4 of them are the same.
Okay.
So you get bands, BANDS, and
Okay.
circuit. Bands and circuit.
Loop.
Good guess. I think that was going to be very difficult for you. The word that got removed 4 times was ohm. OHM.
Okay. So I don't know still.
Okay, 50%. Here are the words you got: conveyor, wire, mold, and chip. Can you think of what the theme was?
I mean, machines?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
That wasn't that difficult. So the words you missed, the one you just missed was resistor. On resistors have little colored bands to say what the resistance is. I think that's
I
what the,
definitely was never gonna get that. Like, so chat, don't feel bad. That was never happening.
that one was very difficult. I get it. The one with all the Detroit clues was piston.
Oh, there's a basketball team called the Detroit Pistons.
There is a Detroit Pistons team. And that's where Isaiah Thomas played for the Detroit Pistons as well.
Oh, yeah, y'all, you can't go that deep.
Valve was one of the words you missed earlier, and when they were talking about steam, and there were a couple of other words there.
Y'all, all you needed to put in the chat was Shell, Portal, Wheatley, Peabody. That like
That would have worked.
I'm just saying, if you want to get me to guess Valve, make some Portal references and I'll get there.
And the first one you missed that you didn't get many clues on, if I recall correctly, was gear.
Okay. That was the one I guessed wheel. It was cog and
and
third,
else. Third gear.
Yeah.
But because you didn't get the others on the list were much more helpful, and they would have, they got eliminated, unfortunately, which is the trick in Just One. Sometimes the best clues get eliminated and you're left with Isaiah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our run of Just One. Thank you, chat, for playing. And somebody tried Half-Life. Yes, Jerry says that's where Half-Life was.
Oh.
With the hyphenated word, because that's another of Valve's big hit.
Okay. Well then, you know what, Gator Dave, you get some props from me then, if that was your hyphenate.
Yes. And there's still the person who said slidewalk is defending it as a legitimate clue.
Okay.
I'm accepting it. It's good.
Just because I don't know that it is a real word does not mean it is not a real word. Also, people like to complain about made up words. Guess what? Every single word was made up at some point. So
someone made it up.
And I love portmanteaus. Like, portmanteaus have my heart, like, Whoa.
Coralu's asking, what exactly is Portal again? It's an amazing video game. It's two amazing video games. I don't know why there isn't a third amazing video game. It's been years.
It's been so long.
Years. So moving on to our discussion topic, we wanted to talk about games that have machines in them. And I sort of jokingly said, is there a better MouseTrap than MouseTrap? Do we want to be that specific about this? And you said, I don't know if we want to go that specific. But, I was thinking about games where you turn one thing into another or build machinery components and stuff. And the fun thing that everyone does with MouseTrap is just build the device, which is cool. The game, but the device is really neat. So is it possible to make a game that does the mousetrap, but is actually a game that's interesting about making the mousetrap? Should we start with that?
I mean, honest to God, I've had a list in the Notes app in my phone for years of game design ideas. Like, I've only designed one game. It is not like a hobby that I pursue much. But on that list for years has been a Rube Goldberg inspired game for adults.
Yeah.
Like, could you make a game using a 3D printer or something else that had multiple components that could be combined to create a Rube Goldberg machine in different configurations? And I think the logistics of such a thing would be incredibly difficult to figure out. But how cool would it be? Like, I'm kind of almost picturing Mousetrap and that roller coaster game with the marbles that did not do well. The one, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Where you're.
Yes, Pandasaurus.
It was a miss. It was a hard.
It physically
miss for
didn't
everybody.
work quite the way it was supposed to. But yeah, I remember this now.
I'm picturing something like that where you're making a relatively short and simple Rube Goldberg machine, but it's different every time.
Yes. A couple of things that have gone by. Steve mentions The Incredible Machine, which was a video game from Sierra many years ago. But it was exactly that game. You had a certain number of components, like planks and boots and balls and levers and all sorts of stuff. And you basically put them all together, and then the physics engine kicked in, and you saw whether it worked the way it would work. There are a number of video games like this that sort of do that. As far as board games go, I've encountered a couple. There was one game that was about creative ways to kill someone, which was, it was all cartoony and stuff, but I forget exactly what it was called. There was another one called...
Was that Machine of Death?
It might have been.
Okay.
It was a card game.
Okay, yeah.
There was also a game called Marvin Marvel's Marvelous Marble Machine. Marvin Marble's Marvelous Marble Machine, yes. That was it was a hex grid, and you would put devices into the hex spaces trying to guide a marble, or many marbles, there would be several marbles flying around the board, into your edge of the board. So you had sort of a goal that was your side of the board, and you're trying to position things to intercept the marbles and fling them into your direction.
Interesting.
It was neat. I ended up not liking it as much as I hoped I would. It was a little more sparse. I think it was a very small press game, and I maybe was harder on it than I should have been. But it was a neat idea. I think the tricky part is you've got, the cool thing about Rube Goldberg devices is unconventional uses for conventional objects, and it's hard to do that in a game format because you need to have rules that apply to all of the things. But Rube Goldberg devices are all about breaking the rules, using a device for something it's not really intended for, and pushing something and rolling down hills and hitting things in weird ways. And I could just see that as being very, very difficult to try and turn into a game system.
Yes, there is a reason why it will most likely just stay in the Notes app on my phone forever and not actually ever happen, especially because I am not super engineering or mechanically minded, and I feel like whoever designs that game needs to be very mechanically minded.
Yes. But we do have games that are about machines, and we see it much more as efficiency engines or turning one thing into another thing in a sequence of devices. So stuff like factory fun, where you've got a factory floor and let me see if I can bring up the little illustration here, and you're connecting vats of goo into other machines and trying to get the input and the output to match up, and grabbing machines that you think are going to fit in your factory floor and then messing up because they're the mirror image of what you need in your factory floor, and now you've got to build pipes everywhere to make it all work. That's a cool game.
Have you played Factory Funner, Eric?
I have not.
Okay. I know it's on Kickstarter right now. That's the reason I'm asking, because I've never played either. So
I really like Factory Fun. It remains one of my favorites. But I have not found a reason to. I would have to get rid of Factory Fun if I got Factory Funner, and until I play Factory Funner, I don't have the reason to do that.
Right.
So I would like to play it at some point, but I am not backing it at this point until I play it.
I'm probably backing it only because as of now, and I mentioned this on our previous episode when I was doing reviews, every single game that I've played from BoardGameTables.com, whether it is a new design or a re-implementation of an old design, every single one has been a hit for me. Every one.
So this is from them. This isn't Koali that's doing it?
It's 3 games. They have 3 different games in this series, and one of them is Factory Funner, Eric. And I don't know a lot about the 3 games, so I'm not speaking about those games specifically, but the production quality and the enjoyment I have gotten out of the games from BoardGameTables.com have been off the charts almost every time universally. The only one that they've released currently that I haven't played is Loot of Lima, but like even their ones that they haven't come out with yet, like Kabuto Sumo, I've backed. Because until I hit a miss, like, I'm just going to keep backing the stuff that they put out. I mean, they're doing a great job over there.
And Gator Dave says there's a new art style for Factory Funner. So, oh, boy.
It looks nice.
Folks, don't make me buy another game. Why do you do this to me? Anyway.
I know.
Who said this in the chat? Gizmos.
Gizmos is fun.
That is a very fun game.
I really like Gizmos.
And that's also about getting these devices which do turn one thing into one thing that triggers something else, and it is very much an engine building game.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about, machines, engines, and there is a reason why the engine building genre of board games is so popular. Like, it's fun to take a nothing thing and turn that into 2 nothings, which turn into a something, which turn into an awesome thing. Like, that is a fun process.
A couple that I saw go by, I don't know why I didn't grab these. I have these upstairs. The Forbidden Sky, the 3rd of the Forbidden series, where you are literally connecting an electrical circuit on the course of the board and eventually connecting it into one loop and causing a rocket to fly up. And that's really neat. And Steampunk Rally, which is sort of like Factory Fun, or a little like Factory Fun, where you're connecting components of this racing device and making it better, faster, stronger, but you have to connect all the circuit paths to make that work.
It's interesting. Steampunk Rally, I only played once, like right after the original Kickstarter fulfilled, so this was years ago. And I bounced off of it a little bit, but having only played a game once, it's hard to remember, you know? Another one that got mentioned in chat, Chocolate Factory, Coralu mentioned, is another game that I did not enjoy, but boy, oh boy, is it cool in how it works. Like, the components are great, and you literally, each person is running a chocolate factory that has a conveyor belt, and each turn, chocolates are moving across that conveyor belt, and then they're turning into other chocolates, and how it works is really, really neat. For me, I just found it a bit too fiddly, which kind of lends itself. And I think that's where some engine building games struggle, is how do you make an engine building game that is both dynamic and interesting without being too fiddly or too complex?
Right.
Because at a certain point in some engine building games, you've got a table full of cards in front of you, and you're like, okay, that triggers this, which triggers that, which can be fun and also frustrating if you are someone that struggles to manage that much stuff at once, which sometimes I do.
One other, going a different direction with a different style of machine. This is a puzzle game, an old one called Black Box. It is. Here's a picture of the board back here. So it's this device where one player hides these. I guess they call them electrons in the center of the maze, and then you put a cover on top. And you are sending pulses along the outside of the board, and they will behave in certain ways. If you shoot it directly at the electron, it gets absorbed. But if it goes to the side, the electron's going to bend it and sort of send it in different directions. So there's rules about how these electrons affect the pulses that you send in. And based on the results you get, you're trying to figure out where those electrons are.
I'm literally looking this up as we speak because I want it.
It's very old. I had someone give me a copy because I was talking about, there was a
it's so cheap on eBay. It's really cheap.
Well, because
it's ridiculous.
I think it was in a lot of places.
There's tons of copies on eBay for less than $20.
It's an old Parker Brothers title. Old.
Okay.
And it's basically it's a two-player puzzle game. It's sort of on the line of Mastermind, where one player has positioned these things and is basically acting as the computer and giving you the results. There's not a lot for the other player to do once they've set up the puzzle, other than give you the answers and trace where it's supposed to go.
I mean, sometimes it's really just fun to watch your friends be frustrated, though.
Yes.
So.
And the last thing, I was actually going to dig out a board of this, but Robo Rally, which we talked about in our robot episode a few weeks ago, but what I'm thinking of now is the boards themselves. The boards are usually set on a factory floor and have conveyor belts and crushers and pressers and mechanized components that will destroy your robot or damage them if you hit them in the wrong place, pits. And so you have to, in programming your robot, also take into account what the board is going to do to your bots, which I think it's almost, playing the board is almost as important as playing the other robots in Robo Rally, which is very cool.
I actually should have grabbed one of the games that I brought out for our robot episode that would work here as well, which is Sentient. Like, technically the cards are robots, but you're programming those robots using your dice. So there is a little bit of like machinery going on there because you do have to modify the cards as they come out. Some other games that I put on my list. I mean, we can't talk about games like this and not say Fantastic Factories, Eric.
Yes. I
love Fantastic Factories, and I'm super excited for the expansion to come out. Although I don't own the base game yet because I backed Starving Artists forever ago. The expansion for Starving Artists, which then got picked up by Deepwater Games to rescue it because the Kickstarter, some bad stuff happened with the person who was supposed to be running it. Okay. And Deepwater is fulfilling Starving Artists. I added Fantastic Factories onto my Starving Artists pledge. Fantastic Factories, the base game, got delayed. So now I don't have my Starving Artists expansion or Fantastic Factories. I think I may actually get the expansion to Fantastic Factories before I own the base game at this rate. Which, admittedly, Deepwater has been very communicative about the whole thing, and they've been lovely. But I really want Fantastic Factories because it's great. I'm trying to think of others that I wrote down. I put down Cupcake Empire, which is a little bit less about the machinery and more about the baking, but you're still making cupcakes and icing and then serving them to people. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I really enjoy it, and I don't get to talk about it enough. So,
Innovation showed up in the chat. I considered bringing that down. That one, it feels less like a factory or a machine and more like a civilization with lots of technology and stuff. But I totally get it. You're building lots of components, lots of tableau cards, and using them to sort of push you toward some sort of victory. Galaxy Trucker also has shown up in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Which is definitely a machine build as you make those connections and make that all work. I've never played City of Gears.
You know what? I actually have a copy of that. I should have grabbed it. City of Gears is from Gray Fox Games. Gray Fox does sponsor my podcast, but that is not why I'm talking about it. Obviously, you brought it up. I like City of Gears. It's fun, and I think it didn't make a big splash when it released, but I really enjoy it.
Yep.
That was funny. The Automod held Coraloo's cupcake
Yes.
emoji for some reason.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I released it to the wild. I think that cupcake is adorable.
You beat me to it. I was going to let that one go as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my list of machine games. Any others that you...
No, I think we talked about most of the ones that I had on my list as well. And Chad has brought up some really great ones.
Really, we've just decided that someone needs to figure out how to make a Rube Goldberg game that's actually about building the Rube Goldberg device.
I mean, engine building games just do have that level of satisfaction with them.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody likes to feel like they've created something, and like I said, taking a nothing and turning it into a something is fun. So I enjoy it quite a bit, and I don't own a lot of games. I don't really own a lot of engine building games, but there's a couple that I really like. So
we can still hang around for a few more minutes. We've been going longer and longer in
I know.
our episodes of Dice Tower Tonight. I'm fine. I love hanging out with everybody. But we can hang around for a few more minutes if you have any questions that you would like to ask. I saw one from the Dice Matrix. Do we do top 5 or top 10 lists on Dice Tower Tonight? We tend not to. We sort of do a lot more free-form discussion, as you just saw. We'll come up with something to talk about and show a few examples, maybe talk about some issues with that style of game, and let chat sort of interact as best they can. We try not to get straight, into a ranked, ordered list. You'll find that on the Dice Tower video series and on the podcast. I do enough of that there, so.
And I think that's kind of the main point there, is you already have to do a number of lists more frequently. Yeah. I'll say for me personally, I love making lists. I'm like one of the few. Like, I know Mandy hates it, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, like I have to make a list. Like, everybody loves listening to lists. I like making lists. So if anybody has suggestions for, what I'm going to say, really unique top 5 lists that Eric and I could maybe do here, that would be like, I don't even know what that really means, but something that you wouldn't typically see in an episode of the podcast. Maybe something really different. Throw us an email or tweet at us and let us know. It's not that we're not willing to do lists here, but yeah, Eric has to do a lot of them already. So if we were going to do one here on Dice Tower Tonight, it would have to be something incredibly compelling.
Yeah. Coraloo asks, is anybody planning to pull any pranks tomorrow morning for April Fools? Are you a prankster? No. I have stayed away from it, especially last year. Remember, like last year, we were just beginning lockdown, and everyone's like, all right, we're all agreeing we're not doing this, right? This is not the time, and I still don't know if I'm there. I always have to remember on April 1st to not click on anything on the internet, like not believe any news articles that I see.
This made me sad because now I'm remembering the one April Fool's thing that I used to love so very much that no longer exists, and that is the fake products that Think Geek would come up with every single year for April Fool's Day that then sometimes would turn into real products, and Think Geek doesn't exist anymore, so that's not happening, and that makes me a little sad.
I mean, sometimes the stuff that's... I hate to rail against April Fool's jokes because sometimes they're great, but when it's like the 6th or 7th joke post that you've seen in the day, it can get a little weird.
For me, I have a viscerally negative reaction to causing distress in another human. Like, if I am causing somebody to be sad or angry or upset deliberately, I can't do that. The only April Fool's joke that I've ever played on anybody with any regularity, when I was a teenager, I started doing the trick where you wrap a rubber band around the sprayer nozzle on the kitchen sink. So, it's sitting in the back of the sink, pointed outward, and you wrap a rubber band around that. So the next time somebody goes to turn on the faucet, it just starts spraying immediately.
Yep.
And I got my mother with this every year for
Yep.
years. And then the year that I went to college, I wasn't home for April Fool's Day, obviously. And so my dad, I don't really like the man, but God bless him, he put that rubber band on the faucet. My mom thought she was in the clear, and she got sprayed. It was great. I have not done that in a number of years, but kids, do that to your parents, and they'll...
No, children. If you're watching this later, no, you should be in bed right now. And if you're watching this later, no, you may not do this. You may not.
I may not have been speaking to Eric's children directly. I'm just saying. This is the only April Fool's joke that I am a fan of. But don't do it if somebody has like an important meeting. Like if everybody's working from home and can handle changing clothes, then it's okay. But
Coralu for Easter wants us to wear the bunny ears to say goodnight.
Oh, I'm down. We could definitely wear the bunny ears for Easter.
All right. Give me 1 second. How? I think I hurt myself.
Oh no!
That was... It's weird.
And this is the moment where somebody tunes in randomly.
Oh no!
And
I squashed the ears.
Yeah, you gotta do headphones.
Do it over the headphones. Dice Matrix has a list suggestion: top 5 games with a thematically disconnected cover.
I like it.
So the cover does not promise or promises something that the game does not deliver.
I think off the top of my head, like one really good example that would be something like Abyss. It's got that big menacing face on the front, right? But like when I've seen people playing that game, it does not look anything like that cover promises. I think that's a cool one. We'll consider it.
All right, I think we should probably wrap things up because as Jerry says, it's only 2 more hours till it's April Fool's on the East Coast. So
yes,
I gotta go make sure there's no rubber bands attached to the sink.
I will answer one tiny question before we leave, and that was Shadowling did ask what my doggos' names are, and are either of the... Well, Lana's back there right now. I tilted the camera up. I don't know how well you can see. I will tilt it down. Let's see. So there's Lana, and then I also have Sterling and Maybe, who are not in the shot at the moment. So, but yeah. Chat, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We love when you all hang out with us and chat with us and play games with us. It is a highlight for both Eric and myself. We also really appreciate when, if you do enjoy the episodes that we put out, you click that little thumbs up button below the video. It helps the YouTube algorithms know that we're doing some good stuff and that they should show this video to your friends as well when they log on to YouTube. We will return in 2 weeks, in which it will be April, and oh my gosh, I will be fully vaccinated at that point. It'll be the 14th. That'll be a week after my second shot. So, I mean, I think it's technically 2 weeks after that I'm like fully, but it counts.
Yes, you're on your way.
Yes. So it'll be April 14th, which is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you do have ideas for that episode or any episodes in the near future, including episode 100, please send us an email. Eric will be giving you those email addresses in the outro in just a second. But until next time, I'm Crystal Dax.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thanks. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Kennedy, Chris Yee, and Rob Searing. Our horse that talks to the dead provided by Crypt Ed. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Game Nerds. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.